Hi guys, it's Tamara. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel today. We're going to talk about the signs of codependency in trauma relationships. So relationships with some kind of trauma. I've gotten a lot of responses from you guys on my website and on my Twitter page regarding the last video that I did, which spoke a little bit about getting out of the mindset of intergenerational trauma. So in this follow-up video, we're going to talk about codependency, because I think one of the challenges for people who are codependent is figuring out, how do I get out of this traumatic and abusive situation, because I'm so locked in emotionally and psychologically as well. So let's target that topic. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. For those who are subscribed, I always stumble on that part. For those who are not subscribed, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button over here on your right, so that you can stick around with us and so that you can get updated videos. If you want to make sure that you're going to get every video that I post, I encourage you to hit that little bell button on the side as well, so then that way you'll know exactly when I post new videos. So let's just go ahead and jump in. So I have my notes here today to kind of guide me and help me with this. And I encourage you guys to take notes as well, because you can hear all of these things and then you can get a little bit thrown off once you turn off the video. I've done that a couple times in my day. Okay, so the number one sign of codependency is that, and I always tell my clients who come to see me for trauma and transitions and relationships, that the other person's emotions are not your emotions, right? The other person's emotions are not your emotions. So because of that, the number one sign of codependency is that you can't tease apart whose emotions belong to who, right? What you feel, they feel. What they feel, you feel. And it's not the normal twin bond. You know, that's my twin. We feel and do the same thing. We complete each other's sentences. It's not the typical loving romantic relationship where he knows exactly what I'm feeling when I need him to. It's not the typical parent-child relationship where I know my daughter, I know when she's upset. The toxicity underneath not knowing whose emotions are in the forefront is the problem in codependency. There's a level of toxicity underneath the surface, right? It's too much of a blending together. The whole idea of codependency, and I'm going to define this for you based on my experience with this. The whole thing with codependency is that there's not a separate individual, right? You guys are too entwined. You're so entwined that nobody has the ability to reason on their own, feel on their own, intuitively sense what's going on, because that other person has become you, or you have made that other person so entwined with you that you can't decipher who's who and what's what, and you almost lose sight of your own emotions and your own thoughts and your own feelings and goals and futuristic plans. You lose that. That is not love. Neither is that stability and respect either. It's really a controlling, toxic relationship. So the underlying foundation in codependency, and explicitly for, or exclusively for, I should say, not knowing whose emotions are who, is the foundation of toxicity. Okay, it's toxic. It's not healthy. All right, you have absolutely no privacy. That's number two. You have no privacy whatsoever, right? You can't have your journal. You can't go for a ride on your own. You can't walk through the mall by yourself. That person is constantly wanting to know where you are, constantly wanting to dictate your schedule, constantly wanting to know when you come and go, right? It's not, I'm worried about you, I'm checking up on you, or I'll dial your number every day after work to see if you got home safe. That's not what that is. There's an element, again, of toxicity and control, right? You have no privacy because the person doesn't want you to have privacy, right? You are entwined and one and the same. Why should you need privacy? That is the problem in codependency, all right? That's number two. Number three, that your best interest is secondary. When you're in a codependent relationship, the person's needs come first, not your own. Sometimes they will say and do things to make you think you're the primary responsibility, but you're not, right? You're not the primary responsibility. You are secondary in everything, right? Someone might, for example, buy you something. Let's use the example of a parent-child relationship. So let's say your mother is toxic, narcissistic, and dependent emotionally. So, you know, they've created this codependency with you. You buy her something, and you have her best interests at heart, but she does not have your best interests at heart. In the sense that you buy her something and you give it to her, and she totally berates you for it. She doesn't see it as an act of love, right? She sees it as an interference. She sees it as a problem. She sees it as something that you really don't need to be praised for or thanked for. There's a codependency there. It's very, very toxic. Apologies for that, guys. That was my phone ringing, so I apologize for that. I'm always blown up when I do videos. But the relationship is toxic in the sense that they don't care about how they're offending you. You bought her something, you want her to be happy about it, but because the relationship is codependent, she cares nothing about you, right? It's all about her. And she will let you know that by how dissatisfied with what you got her she is, right? She wants you to do everything she wants you to do because, again, you're not one, you're entwined. And if she's not satisfied, you're going to catch it, all right? The third thing is dependency is often fostered in a codependent relationship. You have to understand you're codependent because somebody is fostering that dependency. Somebody is saying that it's okay to need me. The whole idea behind this is that they're going to foster and encourage and reinforce and cement your need of them. And how do they do that? Typically in an abusive or traumatic relationship, the way that they do that is by reinforcing everything that you do that pleases them, or they react kindly and lovingly towards you when you do what they want, and they act very angry. Another way that dependency is fostered is by speaking to you, right? Creating what's called self-talk. They know how to plant things in your mind so that they can control you. So you're never going to make it without me. You're never going to make it without me. You're never going to be intelligent until you learn to listen to me, right? That kind of condescending conversation towards you is dropping little bits and pieces of toxicity in your mind so that you will have that negative self-talk and it'll pop up. All right, so that's one. That's the fourth one, actually. The fifth one is parental alienation. Codependency within a romantic relationship often involves parental alienation. That one parent who is controlling and dominating takes that child and kind of pulls them to their side and says, we're loving, we're close, we're the closest. You know you love dad, you know you love mom, right? Whoever that person is that's encouraging that parental alienation, you know, they take that child and they fill that child's mind up with all the bad things that other parent has done, and then they say things about themselves that is good, or they begin to treat the child really nice so that the child will be split in their decision. Then the second thing, I know the number one thing I said is an underlying toxicity. There's a second thing that I look for as well in codependent relationships, and that is kind of like this manipulative fostering of need. You know, you need me kind of thing. That's what I'm looking for in codependent relationships. You need me. Without me, you don't exist. And that is a problem in and of itself. All right, the sixth one is you are the parentified child. In a parent-child relationship that's codependent, that parent I think I may have mentioned this in another video. I'll post it up here so that you can go back and watch that if you didn't see it. But it's kind of like you become the spouse of that parent in a codependent parent-child relationship. Let's say you're the son and your mom has three younger ones younger than you. Dad has left the home and now it's you as the older son and your mom and three younger children. Well, in a codependent parent-child relationship, you as the brother, are going to become the father and the dad, right? So that's an unhealthy codependency. The other piece of that is a parentified child, and that's when you become the parent of the children. You become the parent of the younger children. You become the parent of your siblings, and that is unhealthy. So codependent parent-child relationships will often include that parentified child. The seventh is you become finally attuned to your parent. You're no longer a child. And what I mean by that sentence or that statement is that you become so conscious or so focused and zoned in on their need of you, if this is a parent, a codependent parent-child relationship, that you never see your own need. It's always that needy parent. It's always that desperate parent that needs you. And you never see what they do to manipulate you. You never see what they do to harm you. And you rarely, if ever, see what it is that is happening to you on the inside because of it. You become that finely attuned to them. All right. The 8th one is you're burned out. In codependent relationships, you're burned out because your emotions are not your emotions. Your emotions are their emotions, and their emotions are your emotions. And so your thoughts are their thoughts, and vice versa. You're tired. You're burned out because you can't be in a healthy relationship like that. It's a burden. All right. The 9th is vicarious trauma or post-traumatic stress. The other person's trauma and post-traumatic stress is beginning to influence and impact you, affect you. That's a codependent relationship as well. I think it's okay to have compassion and empathy and really show that you care and you're there with the person and you love them. But it becomes a problem when their trauma becomes vicarious to you, when their post-traumatic stress becomes your problem. You're too entwined again, right? You're not together as support systems. You're too entwined. You're too enmeshed, all right? I posted a video as well. I'm going to post it up here for you on enmeshment and some of the things that happen in unhealthy families. All right, so that's in there as well. Go ahead and check that out. You feel the need to overprotect the parent. That is actually something that happens in what's called traumatic bonding. Traumatic bonding is the whole idea that you are confused about who your parent is or who that person is that's in relation with you, that's in a relationship with you, because they show you alternating periods of good and bad, right? These are alternating periods of good and bad. And so you get confused because you cling to the good and you kind of downplay the bad. And so when the trauma happens again or the abuse, you're more ready to cling to the good memories and not the bad. And so you kind of skew your perception about that person. So when you have what I have listed here as you feel the need to overprotect the parent, you really are responding to a situation where you've been traumatized. You don't know which person or which identity to really lean towards, so you cling to the good one. And so you overprotect, even if the police are involved, even if that person has really beat you or raped you or assaulted you or something. Maybe there's incest, maybe there's marriage within the family, extended cousins who marry or something weird and abnormal. You might protect that person because you're too entwined, you're codependent, you're enmeshed. The next one is you show symptoms of trauma bond. We just talked about that a little bit. Symptoms of a traumatic bond would be overprotecting that person, really going out of your way to ensure that they love you and care about you no matter what, trying to please the person, trying to be perfect for the person, trying to meet their needs on every level, which is impossible, right? You can only meet somebody's needs but so far, and then you have to move on, right? There's other things in life, or you're not going to be one person that's going to fill all their needs. But your desire to fill all their needs and to please them and to be with them is traumatic bonding, no matter what they do to you. The final one that I have here is you have no identity. You don't know who you are. You don't know who you're supposed to be. You don't know who you were, because that enmeshment, that codependency, that foundational toxicity has overcome your mind and your emotions and the psychology of who you are, and so you lose who you are. Thank you so much for being with me in this video today, guys. I hope that it was helpful for you. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can stick around with us and have more videos like this. I'm going to come back on Friday with another video so that we can wrap up this topic and start on some new things, because in June, my Lord, this month is going like really fast, but in June, we're going to pick up another series. So stay tuned. I will see you really soon, guys. Have a good rest of the week. Bye-bye.